In just 80 years, one empire took over. Spain, North Africa, the entire Middle East, and reached the borders of China. No army in history moved faster. No civilization expanded wider. No empire, before or since, covered that much ground in that little time. 11 million square kilometers. Larger than Rome at its absolute peak. Built in 80 years. Stayed till the end. Because this is not just a story about conquest. It is a story about what happens when a civilization rises on the power of its values, and what happens when it betrays them. This is the Umayyad Caliphate, the fastest empire ever built, and one of the fastest ever lost. A desert nobody cared about to. Superpowers ruled the world in 600 AD, Rome in the west, Persia in the east, two ancient giants, two massive armies, two civilizations that have been fighting each other and taxing their own people into poverty for centuries, and between them, a desert, hot, dry, divided into hundreds of tribes, constantly fighting each other over wells and grazing land. Nobody was watching. Arabia. Nobody thought Arabia mattered. But here is what nobody expected. In that desert, something was about to start that would shake both empires to their foundations. A man named Muhammad began preaching in the city of Mecca. One, God. Equality before that. God. Justice. Brotherhood. A completely new way of seeing the world. The powerful tribes of Arabia tried to stop him, mocked him, persecuted him. He kept going, and within 20 years, the tribes that had fought each other for centuries were standing in the same line, praying for the same goal. Men who had nothing changed the world, and then they started moving. The fire that started a Via Whiter, Qianji after the Prophet, Muhammad's death in 632 AD. His successors kept the fire burning, and here is the part that changes everything. The two superpowers, Byzantium and Persia, had just finished fighting each other for 20 years, both exhausted, both weakened, both bleeding from decades of pointless war, and both still taxing their people without mercy. The people of Syria, Egypt, Iraq, and Persia were not just tired of their rulers, they had lost faith in them entirely. And then the Muslim armies arrived with a different message. Pay a fair tax, keep your religion, keep your language, live in peace. For millions of people, that was the first fair offer they had received in their entire lives. Cities opened their gates, populations welcomed the new rulers. The Sassanid Persian Empire, one of the most powerful military forces in the ancient world, collapsed in less than 20 years. Egypt fell, Syria fell, Iraq fell, Persia fell. But here is what nobody talks about. This was just the beginning, because the real empire, the Umayyad Caliphate, had not even started yet. The man who built the Umayyad CNE, but then something happened no one expected. A civil war broke out inside the Muslim world, a conflict over leadership, over who should guide the community after the Prophet. It was a wound that has never fully healed, and from that wound, a man emerged who would change everything. A governor from Syria, politically brilliant, strategically fearless, calculated in a way that made him both effective and controversial. His name was Muawiyah. He won the civil war, He became the first Umayyad Caliph, and he made decisions that transformed a religious movement into a world empire. He moved the capital from a small desert city in Arabia to Damascus, one of the most sophisticated cities in the ancient world. He built a professional army, organized, paid, and disciplined, replacing the old tribal volunteer system. He created a postal network connecting the vast territories. He built a navy, the first real Muslim fleet, that challenged Byzantine control of the Mediterranean. And then he pointed the machine outward. The conquest, BG, in assist west, north, south, simultaneously in the east. Muslim armies pushed through Central Asia, through Afghanistan, to the very borders of India and the Chinese Tang dynasty. Stay with me, because this is where the numbers become impossible to believe. In the north, deeper into the Caucasus Mountains, modern Armenia, Azerbaijan. In the west, the entire North African coast. City after city, falling to armies moving at a speed that stunned everyone watching. But here is the part that history remembers most. The western edge of the world, Spain ships. On fire, the moment that changed history, 711 AD. The Strait of Gibraltar, a general named Tariq, stands on the northern shore of Africa. Across a narrow strip of water, the Iberian Peninsula, modern Spain and Portugal, controlled by the Visigoth kingdom, ancient, Christian, and deeply divided by internal conflict. Tariq crosses with his army. He lands on a massive rock on the southern tip of Spain. That rock still carries his name. Today, Jabal, Tariq Gibraltar, and here is the moment that became legend. After his army landed, Tariq ordered his ships burned. He turned to his soldiers and said, "The sea is behind you. The enemy is in front of you. You have nothing left but to go forward. No retreat, no escape, no going back." His army of 7,000 men faced a Visigoth force of perhaps 90,000 at the Battle of Guadalete. The numbers should have been impossible, but here is what happened. The Visigoths had numbers. Tariq had belief. Within hours, the Visigoth king was dead, his army destroyed. The gates of Spain were open. Within 7 years, almost the entire Iberian Peninsula was under Umayyad control. Cities that had been Christian for centuries, Córdoba and Sevilla and Toledo and Granada, were now part of the empire that had started in the desert 80 years earlier. The Muslim armies pushed further north, into modern France. And here is where Europe held its breath. In 732 AD, a Frankish leader named Charles Martel stopped the advance at the Battle of Tours. The expansion into Europe stopped at the Pyrenees, but Spain remained Muslim for the next 700 years. 700 years. What they built was even greater than what they see on QE. It is what most people miss. And this is the part history never tells you loudly enough. The Umayyad Caliphate was not just conquest, it was civilization. They didn't just conquer, they built something the world had never seen. The Dome of the Rock in Jerusalem, completed 691 AD, one of the most beautiful buildings in human history. Still standing, still breathtaking. More than 1,300 years later, the Great Mosque of Damascus, built 706 AD, Travelers came from across the known world just to stand inside it, and in Spain. They built something that shocked Europe, Cordoba. In the 900s was the most advanced city on the continent. Running water, street lighting, libraries with hundreds of thousands of books, while London and Paris were still mostly mud and darkness. Cordoba had doctors, philosophers, astronomers, and architects pushing the boundaries of human knowledge. The word algebra from the Ired, from the Iredgeries, from the Argries, with hundreds of thousands of books, while London and Paris was still mostly mud, and Paris was still mostly mud, and darkness. Cordoba had doctors, philosophers, astronomers, and architects pushing the boundaries of human knowledge. The word algebra from the Arabic aljaber was born in this civilization. The stars in the night sky still carry Arabic names that Umayyad astronomers gave them 1,000 years ago. Aldebaran, Betelgeuse, Rigel, Deneb. Look up tonight. The Umayyad Caliphate is still written in your sky. They did not just conquer the world, they taught it, but then they forged. This is where the story breaks your heart, because here is what nobody talks about. Underneath the expansion, underneath the mosques and the science and the trade routes, the cracks were forming. The Umayyad rulers, as they became more powerful, became more distant. The caliphs began living in palaces, surrounding themselves with luxury. But here is the critical detail, the one that destroyed everything. The taxes were not equal darab. Muslims paid less. Non-Arab, Muslims, Persians, Berbers, Central Asians who had converted to Islam, paid more. Think about what that means. Islam's most fundamental teaching, that all believers are equal before God, that race does not determine worth, that justice belongs to everyone. The Umayyads had built their empire on that idea, and now they were betraying it. The Persian converts, the Berber soldiers, the Central Asian Muslims who had fought in the armies, built the cities, expanded the empire. They were being treated as second-class citizens, and they remembered what Islam had promised them. They became what they once fought against. The resentment built, slowly, like water behind a dam, and then someone gave it a direction. The cracks nobody saw. Siomienji, in the eastern province of Khorasan, modern Iran and Afghanistan, a revolutionary movement began. The Abbasids, descendants of the Prophet's uncle, started organizing quietly, carefully. For years their message was simple. The Umayyads forgot justice. We will restore it. The people who had been waiting for someone to say those words flocked to them. Persian converts, Shia Muslims who had never accepted Umayyad legitimacy, Arab tribes who felt abandoned, soldiers who had bled for the empire and received nothing in return. Men who had fought each other for years now stood in the same line against the Umayyads. The same energy that had built the empire was now being used to destroy it. And here is what makes this moment so powerful. They, Umayyads, never saw it coming. They were too comfortable, too confident, too removed from the people who had made them great. The fall from the inside. 750 AD, the banks of the Great Zab River in modern Iraq. The Abbasid Revolutionary Army faces the Umayyad Caliphal forces, and here is the moment that changes everything. The Umayyad soldiers fight, but something is broken inside them. They are defending a system that has disappointed them, fighting for rulers who stopped caring about justice, standing in line for an empire that forgot what it was supposed to be. The Abbasid forces burning with conviction break through. The last Umayyad Caliph flees west, through Syria, through Palestine, through Egypt. He is caught near the Nile, and there in the shadow of the ancient pyramids, the last ruler of the fastest empire in history is killed. The Abbasids hunted down Umayyad princes across the empire, executing them one by one. Almost all of them. One young prince escaped. He ran across North Africa, crossed to Spain, and in 756 AD established an Umayyad emirate in Cordoba that survived for another 250 years. The empire was gone, but the fire in one corner of Spain was not completely out. The warning that history left behind here is the truth about the Umayyad Caliphate that history almost never says loudly enough. The modern world speaks Arabic because of them. Over 400 million people speak Arabic today as their first language, the algebra your children learn in school. Born in the civilization the Umayyads built, the stars your astronomers called by Arabic names, named by scholars the Umayyads funded, the Alhambra Palace in Granada, the Dome of the Rock in Jerusalem, the Great Mosque of Damascus, standing today, visited by millions, built by the Umayyad Caliphate. They built the fastest empire in history and lost it just as fast, because the moment they forgot justice, they started losing everything. Men who had nothing changed the world, and then became what they once fought against. This is not just history. This is a warning. The values that build great civilizations are the same values that keep them standing. Justice, equality, humility. The moment those are abandoned, no army in the world is large enough to save what remains. The Umayyad Caliphate built 11 million square kilometers and lost it all, not to an enemy from outside, but to the injustice they created from within. Remember their name, remember what they built, and remember why they fell.